Hey there, quilters. I'm Kristen with ICStarsQuilting.com. Welcome to my channel. It is my job to make your day much easier when it comes to quilting. And today I have a really good tutorial for you. I'm going to teach you how to make these super cute, easy gift bags that are going to take your homemade gifts or even your store-bought gifts one step up and make you look like a star. So these bags that I have right here behind me, I'm actually going to show you how to make this bag right here in the tutorial today. And it is going to take you less than 10 minutes from start to finish, which makes it easy and fast. So whether you are a bag maker or not, you're going to enjoy following along with this tutorial because this is not hard, okay? And there's lots of different ways that you can take this up a notch, even higher, and make it your own by personalizing them, embroidering them. This bag is definitely an adorable upgrade. This does not have to be a Christmas thing, okay? These can be used for anything. I do have some Christmas fabric that is going to be seen today, but for the most part, this could be any gift whatsoever. You can make these any size you want. I have like this size, I think that's the same size. I have this side that's a little bit taller, a little bit thinner, a little bit taller. You make these any size you want, and the directions stay exactly the same. So this stack right here are the ones that I still have left to make, and I have enjoyed making these bags so much. I feel like it's a really nice way to add something homemade to a gift that you can use over and over and over again. I'm going to show you exactly what to do to make these bags, and I just know you're going to love this. It's so cute. They're so fun. This is super simple, and we are keeping it easy on this project. Okay, let's dive into the tutorial part of this video. I'm going to show you step by step how to make these cute little reusable gift bags. Here are the supplies that you're going to need to make this project. You're probably going to need a ruler to cut your fabric with. You're going to need a rotary cutter to cut your fabric with. I've already pre-cut my fabric for this demonstration that I'm showing you. So you're going to need 4 pieces of fabric that are identical in size. It doesn't matter what like colors or anything your fabric is, you're going to need 2 for the inside and 2 for the outside. And they're all going to need to be the exact same size. I've chosen for this demonstration to have my pieces be 9" by 10". Okay. And I've chosen these 2 for the outside. So I wanted to be a little bit more rectangular, a little bit taller than wider. And then these are going to be the inside of my bag. So they don't have to match per se, but just to keep things easy, these are going to be the inside. These are going to be the outside of my bag. And you will also need some of these handy tools. My friction pins, I love these for marking on the fabric. They erase with heat. Definitely a good tool to have. Always, always, always a seam ripper just in case. You're going to need a pair of scissors or snips, however you want to cut your threads. This is going to be a very handy tool. Now, this is just a chopstick. I can't tell you even how many years this has been in my sewing drawer, but it's been in there for a very long time. So it's just a regular like take out chopstick. This is going to be good for pushing out those corners, making sure that they're nice and square. And then another handy tool, which you do not have to own this. If you don't have it, it's not like a deal breaker, but I will show you how to use this tool later on. It is going to be to thread your ties through, and it is just a seam turner, I think is what it's called. But this is a really handy tool to have, and I will show you another hack when we get to that point if you don't have one of these. But if you have one, it's a very handy tool. So here is all the tools that you need. I'm going to show you how to get these out of the way for a second. I'm going to show you the first seams that we're going to do. You're going to take your inside of your bag pieces. These do not have to be perfect, but it would be nice to give them a nice light press before we go into this. So I'm going to pause this video and I'm going to go give these a quick light press. Okay, I did give it a press. It's just being very stubborn. That's where this fabric has been folded for a long time. So it's not an absolute must, but it's always nice if you can start with some, nicely pressed fabric so you have a nicer looking piece in the end. So I'm going to line up my pieces right sides together. This is the inside of the bag that we're working on. And then we are going to take this to our sewing machine and we're going to sew from the top here all the way down. And then you are going to stop here start again here and sew all the way up this side. So what you're doing is you're leaving this space in the middle, and I like to go ahead and backstitch right here. When you're sewing this, I want you to use a 1/2 inch seam all the way down here. It just gives you a little bit of extra seam to work with when it comes to this spot right here. So sew on a 1/2 inch seam, and you're going to leave this area open, and then you're going to leave this whole entire top open as well. Okay. Now let's look at the outside of the bag. This one is a little bit different, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do. You're going to need that ruler again, and I'm going to make some marks on here, and this is going to be good marks for where you need to sew. These, you're going to sew these right sides together. I'll go ahead and put my fabrics right sides together, and I'm pretending that this is the top of my bag, right? Because my pieces are a little bit more rectangular, right? So this is the top of my bag, but I want you to see what it is that I'm doing here. So I'm going to come down about 1.5 inches, and I'm going to use my ruler, and I'm going to put a mark on both sides of my bag. Okay. And then I am going to go down about 1.25 inches is what I like to do. And there you have it. So pull this where you can see. So see how I have this little 1.25 inch area right here? I'm going to sew from the top down to that line. I'm going to skip over that area, and then I'm going to sew all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to pivot my fabric. I'm going to sew all the way across the top, and then all the way back over to this side. I'm going to stop once I hit that line, skip over that area, and then go up. This is where our ties are going to be inserted later on in the project, and you definitely want to leave this open. So I'm going to take this one to the sewing machine, and I am going to sew this one up real quick. Here is this finished piece all sewn. I did leave that nice little gap right here in the middle. It doesn't have to be centered. Mine's a little bit off, but I left a nice little gap in there. That is what is going to help us turn this bag right side out in just a few minutes. And here is this done. I've got these little areas right here that are not stitched, and that's just a thread laying over it. Now this is all sewn. Before we turn it right side out, I want to go right where these seams are. You don't have to press the entire thing open. In fact, I just kind of like to finger press this right here where we have that opening, because you want to make sure that those seams do not go to one side, because that's where our eventual tie is going to go through. So I just kind of finger press it. You can take it to your iron and press it if you want. I will do anything I can to avoid having to use the iron on a project. Okay. So, especially one like this where it just needs to be pressed open a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect, and you don't have to worry about the rest of the seams or anything. Okay. So once you've got that kind of finger press a little bit, then you're going to turn this right side out. And this is a good point to grab your chopstick and make sure that those corners are poked out nice and square. This is the best time to do that when you've got all the other fabric and stuff in there. It's a little bit harder to get those corners nice and square. And you don't have to press too hard. Just a little bit will do it. And then pull this out. And you have your raw unfinished edge up here, and this is what the outside of your bag is going to look like. Now, the inside of your bag, we are going to leave with the right sides on the inside, okay? Now, if you're a bag maker, this is pretty familiar to you. If you're not a bag maker, you can still absolutely do this. There is no reason why you can't do this. Trust me. I will walk you through step by step. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this outside part of the bag and I'm going to put it in inside the bag. So what you're doing is right sides of the fabric are going to go together. Okay. So I'm putting it inside the bag, and I'm just kind of using my hand like this on the inside of the bag so that I can kind of match those corners up down there. So that's kind of what I'm doing on the inside. It's just kind of matching those corners up. And then I'm going to grab, you can use a pin or a clip or whatever is closest to you, but I just kind of want to match up these seams, this seam right here, the outside and the inside. Match up those seams. Yeah, so that your bag's not kind of like wonky. We want to add a little bit of professionalism to this, right? So match up those seams. Stick a little pin in it so it just stays put. And then I just kind of like to stretch it a little bit with my hands. You don't need your chopstick anymore. I just like to stretch it a little bit with my hands so that I know things are where they're supposed to be. Okay. Next step is simple. We're going to get this ready to turn out. So you're going to pull one side of your bag away. You're going to start stitching over here, and you are just going to work all the way around the bag. And this you can do at 1/4 of an inch here. Okay. It doesn't really matter what size. If you're more comfortable with a 1/2 inch on this whole project, you can do that, but you just want to stay even all the way around the bag. I like to start in the middle of my side here just because it's easier. You can start on an end if you want, but it's easier to get it going a little bit before you remove one of the side pins. So I'm going to go ahead, get started on sewing. And then when you come to a pause, you'll just take out your pin and rotate your bag a little bit. It may take a little bit of getting used to if you're not a bag maker, but you're just going to kind of rotate and pull it around so that you have a nice straight spot to sew. And all I'm doing is making sure that these two tops are matched up as I'm sewing. So I've just sewn all the way around the top, and here is where this little handy hole in the bottom of the lining that we left comes in handy. I want you to reach through, I want you to grab the outer part of your bag, and I want you to just gently, don't start ripping stitches or anything, but just gently work your way through, turning it right side out so you can see both pretty parts of the fabric. Just pull a little bit through at a time. And you should have this right here that you've pulled out. So it's got both sides of your bag, right? Now, you don't have to worry about getting these corners perfect because they're going to go the opposite way. Once you get inside the bag, they're going to need to be poked in that way. But you do need to make sure you get them out of the way so that we can sew this bag close. This is where it comes down to a matter of opinion. Do you want to Invis-stitch that close where you can like do hand sewing and do like a little ladder stitch to where that is completely invisible? Or you can just stick it under your sewing machine and do a really, really close stitch, straight stitch right there. I tend to opt for the sewing machine, of course. So I'm going to stitch this closed real quick. And remember, this is a lining, so it's never really going to show either, but this is what it looks like once it's stitched. I just have a really, really thin one there. You want to make sure that you get all of your raw edges tucked in there. After you've got that done, we're going to work on putting the lining inside of our bag. Now, you can't see what I'm doing inside the bag, but again, I'm just going through and pushing to where the corners match up, and then that helps everything else match up. Make sure they're in the right spot. We're going to do 3 stitches on this bag, okay? All the way around the top here. The first one that we're going to do is a top stitch that just keeps everything in place up here, okay? So it's going to be real close and tight to the top. It's just going to keep things nice and neat. So where like your edges aren't rolling, okay? They're gonna keep things nice and neat. The second one, if you go to the side of your bag, you'll find where we left that little spot open. You see that right there? That's where we left that spot open, and we're gonna go and we're going to stitch right above it and right below it. That's gonna keep your ties in place. so that they don't go inside the bag or go like way up top or anything. Okay, that's going to keep them in place. So you're going to do one stitch all the way here, one stitch here, and then one stitch at the base of your 1, 2. Now you can take like a chalk pencil, you can take like a marker or whatever if you want, and draw those lines. Because these are gift bags and they're usually kind of like, you know, they look like this in the end, nobody's really going to notice if that line is perfectly straight or not. So if you feel more comfortable and you want to draw those lines, you can. Because I've made so many of these, I don't tend to draw that line anymore. It makes it so much easier if I just kind of eyeball it and keep an eye on where my needle is going and how far it is away from the edge. So let's put this back under the needle. I'm going to sew that top stitching first. Then I'm going to sew about an inch below that, and then about an inch and a half below that to get all 3 of them in here. That's how that top stitch looks, nice and easy. Now I'm going to do the other ones, and this one I still like to do from the inside of the bag, but keep an eye on where you're sewing. You don't want to sew over these holes right here because that is where your twine is going to go. And because I didn't draw my line, what I'm doing to keep this line nice and even is I'm looking at all of these nice measurements that are on your sewing machine. I know you would think that we would pay more attention to them, and we actually don't. But if it helps you to look at these to make sure that your stitch is nice and even and parallel with the top of your bag, look at those. If you can't see those lines on your sewing machine, because I know they are kind of, not as big and bright as we'd like them to be, take some painter's tape or some washi tape and put it down so that you can see that line and you can line it up. Here's what that second line looks like right there. This space right here is what's going to give your bag that little bit of like a kind of a ruffle at the top when you cinch it closed. The bigger the space is, the bigger the ruffle. However, if you make this space really big, it takes out of the space that you can actually put things in down here. So I like to give a little bit of a ruffle, usually like an inch, inch and a half or so, depends on the size of my bag. But you can see right there is where that little hole is, and I've stitched above it. Now I want to go back and I want to stitch below it. So I'm going to kind of take my finger, place it where that below spot is, and that's where I start my needle. This is our finished bag. You may want to go through and kind of trim some of those little bitty like backstitch threads that are hanging off just to give it a little bit more of a professional look. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add those ties. And what I did for the ones that I've made this year is I just got this big roll of like twine from the hardware store, and it's kind of giving like a cute little rustic look to my bags. But if you're making these for whatever occasion, you can use ribbon. I've also used just strips of fabric to tie these bags together, and they worked out really well too. So again, we're going to be very specific with this measurement here. I'm going way off to the side here, thinking this is where my knot is going to be. And then I'm going to put my finger there. And that's the length that my twine is going to be. So I would say give yourself a good like 4.5 inches or so off to the side here. You can always trim it shorter, but you can't make it longer if it gets that way. Okay, and then you want to make each of them, you're going to cut 2 pieces of twine and you're going to make them the same size. So again, real specific measuring here. Okay, so you're going to take one piece, put the other one aside for right now. This is where your seam turner is going to come in handy. Now, I'm going to show you how to use this. If you don't have a seam turner, you can also use a safety pin and tie this to the end of your safety pin. And then you're going to work it through the hole that you have here. And you're just going to use your fingers and work it through all the way around. Now, this piece right here is going to have one that goes all the way out this side. It's not going to come out this hole, okay? It's going to stay inside, and it's going to wrap all the way around, and it's going to come out the back of here, okay? The next one is going to do the opposite thing. It's going to have the strings over here. That way you have two sides to pull, and it cinches it in the middle. So with that, I'm going to use my seam turner. I'm going to push it in here on this side. And then I'm going to use my fingers to kind of make it come out the other side. And this is where you have to be just a little bit careful, because these are not, they're not perfect, right? They're kind of just raw seams there. So you don't want to pull that out. So what I've done is I'm just going to be very careful and stick that around there and then pull it through. Ta-da. Very simple. Now I'm going to go in the other way, because this went on this side, right? It goes this way. I'm going to go in the other way in my seam here, the back side of my bag, and then I'm going to pull the other side through. And that's one of them. Now these aren't even, but I can kind of pull them to make them even. And then you can also cut it to make it even if you want, but pull it to where they're even. Sew a little knot so they don't come undone. And there's one side. Next is going from the opposite side that we just started on, going inside the bag, coming from here and pulling that side through to where I have the raw edge out that way. Now, the reason I'm only going through halfway is because this makes it really easy to do that, but it doesn't go all the way around. If you don't have one of these, safety pins work. You can use, see, I've even used like the top to like a Coke can, you know, the little tab part. I've used that. If you tie string around that, it can be used to kind of just move your fingers through. But seam turners are really, they're a good tool, and they're not really expensive either. I'll put a link to the one that I have down in the description box, but they're not really expensive investment, and they do come in handy more than you would think. So now just tying this here like that, and ta-da. Give it a couple times to where they kind of even themselves out, and you have an adorable little gift bag. See, I told you. It was so easy, right? It's just the same repeatable steps over and over and over again to make these bags in any size you want. You can make tiny little like Advent style bags. You can make larger bags for larger gifts. You can make birthday, anything and everything, makeup bags, travel bags, all of that. It's the same steps and the same adorable outcome. So I want to show you a couple of the ways that I personalized and kind of took the bag just up just a little bit more, and I want to show you those up close so you can see them. So this right here is the big bag that I have made, and this bag is 4 fat quarters. Okay, so that's all I did was I just took 4 fat quarters that were already cut, already in my my fabric stash, and said I'm not going to chop them down even more. I'm just going to make a larger size bag. So this is 1 fat quarter. The back is another fat quarter. And so I kind of did, you know, a two-tone thing here. And then the inside is 2 different fat quarters too. So one thing that I did to this bag is I added some adorable personalized labels. Okay, so this one just says made by me. And then this one has, this one is my personal label. So it has like my website, and then on the back, it has my name and a made with so much love, just a little cute message that I like to add to some of my gifts, right? This label is actually by Sarah Hart, and I love her labels so much. I stock them in my shop on my website, and I ship them out really, really fast. They're adorable, and they're so easy to add some personality to your quilts. If you want to add some flair to your quilts or to your projects, adding a cute little label, this one's got a little bit of glitter tone to it, which I love, is a good and easy way to do it. This bag, I didn't even bother with like actual twine or anything on this bag. This is one of the like bags that I made several years ago, and I just used cut fabric strips. Okay. Now it's getting a little hairy. Okay. It's getting a little hairy. The fabric's getting a little bit frayed, but it still does its job, right? It still holds gifts. It still cinches at the top. This is an easy way that you can do it and still kind of match the fabric if you don't want to use the twine. Okay, so these I use twine because it already has that kind of like rusticy look, and it kind of matches like the farmhouse vibe that we have in our house. So it looks really cute when these are all underneath a tree, and it has this cute checkered and everything. So you could use twine, you can use ribbon, you can use printed ribbon. There's tons of ideas out there. You could use different colors of rope, different colors of ribbon, all kinds of different ways that you can like glitz up your bag without doing a whole lot of extra work. This bag, the big bag that I made, I just took pieces of fabric that matched the inside of my bag, and I cut really long pieces of fabric, took it in half, right sides together, sewed it all the way down, used my fabric turner and turned it inside out, ironed it, and I have made my own ribbon, my own ties. I don't know what these things are called. I've made my own long pieces of fabric that match my bag and look really cute with it. The last tip that I have for you in making this bag just a little bit more fancy is this tip right here. This little piece of fabric up here is the same as what is on the inside of the bag. And I didn't do any extra work on that, but it adds a fun little ribbon of color at the top. And then you can see, it contrasts nicely with the bag on both sides. It matches the ties. It matches the inside of the bag. And the way that I did that was kind of an accident. It was kind of an accident. The truth is, I thought they were fat quarters. They weren't. They were a little bit bigger than fat quarters. They came from some yardage that I had already cut previously because that's how I cut this. But I thought they were like, oh, these are fat quarter size. And they were actually a little bit longer than fat quarters. So when I sewed it together and I was putting the pieces together, I realized, oh, I have like extra fabric up top. Like it was let's see, I don't know, it's probably like 2 inches longer, not a whole lot extra fabric, but like 2 inches longer. So when you go to attach the top pieces together, I did that right here. And normally you would go in and you would sew that top stitching right there. Well, when I folded it in half and I was putting it in there and getting ready to top stitch, this is what came out as the middle part. And so I thought, well, I can just roll with this and add that cute little fabric across the top, which actually I really like. I like the way it turned out. It's kind of different. It's kind of fun. Like I said, like this side, especially because of the light fabric and the contrast of like the red up top, it makes it really fun. So that was what we like to call a happy accident, I guess. It made it really easy and added some fun to my project. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial today. I hope that you enjoyed sewing with me, coming up with fun projects like this, and being able to take something that I have implemented in my life that has made things easier and share it with you is what I absolutely love to do. If you would love some more of that, please do me a favor. Hit the thumbs up button to like this video, and then also subscribe down below to this video because I have lots more tutorials coming in the future, and I cannot wait to share them all with you. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and then I hope that you take like 10 minutes just to sew up one of these bags. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. You could even make like little bitty ones if you wanted. They would be adorable. Have fun with it and enjoy it. Remember that creativity does not have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. I will see you next week on my channel. I'm Kristen with ICStarsQuilting.com. Have a good day. Bye.